How's it going, everybody? This is DQ Tattoos back with another video for you today. And on this video, I thought I'd share with you a little time lapse of me getting my head tattooed. So I did this, or got this done Wednesday. Today is Friday, so my tattoo is 2 days old. I'll turn my head real quick so you can kind of see the finished piece. And then at the end of the time lapse, there's going to be another video showing that. But this is what it looks like today after 2 days. So that tattoo took about 3.5 hours to do. That did include two very small breaks. The first one just so I could get up and stretch for a minute. When you're laying in one position like this for any extended amount of time, certain things get to you pretty quick. I've got some problems with my left knee, and I had my knee bent for a good amount of time, which I should have known better than to do that because it locked up on me after about an hour. So I had to take a minute to stretch that out and reposition myself real quick. And then I'm laying on my right shoulder here. That got stiff super fast. So I would say, if it wasn't for other parts of my body bothering me, this tattoo would have been a lot easier because honestly, like the pain level on this location, everywhere except for like the very bottom tip going onto my neck and then like right behind my ear. Those were the worst parts of it, but even they were bearable. I think a lot of it just has to do with getting yourself in the right mindset and maybe having a little something to distract you. Usually I'll watch, I think for a good amount of this time I was just watching some YouTube videos, and then I switched to some music after it got a little bit more intense, just so I could close my eyes and relax a little bit more. Of course, it's always good to make sure that you eat a good amount of food, stay hydrated for the whole process. Yeah, I had like a few granola bars and some green juice before the tattoo, and anytime you need a break for a tattoo like this, as long as it's not like every 5 minutes, the artists are usually pretty quick to comply with that, because you got to think they've been in a hunchback position for a lot of the time too, usually, unless they have better posture than I do when I'm tattooing. So getting up and stretching for them is also good. So here you can see he's getting a bit closer to the back of my head. I think that's where I had to adjust my leg real quick, where it was locking up. And right on the ear. Yep, that's the fun part. And he pretty much just used like 4 different needles for this one. Not a lot of line work, so I mean it wasn't that terrible. Most of it was shading, and then obviously the little details at the end, I think he did those with a liner. But I've already got a mandala on the other side of my head, and on my right side I've been wanting one on the left for a while now, and always liked the idea of getting one that incorporated space somehow. But then I came up with doing a negative for the mandala. So the mandala itself isn't actually tattooed, but just the shapes inside of it. So I think that made it a little bit more interesting to me. I mean, I really love how it turned out. Couldn't have hoped for anything better. And this tattoo was done by an artist named Jeremie LaFrance. He's doing a guest spot at our shop right now. So if you're in Nashville and you like this tattoo and you want to get something done by him before he leaves, definitely come by soon and set something up. He does have pretty good availability right now. We're not sure how much longer he's going to be at the shop because he's working on getting all of his paperwork and stuff to go back over to the UK. So hopefully we'll have him for a little bit longer. Yep. And I just love the color choices on this one. I mean, I love how in some nebulas and stuff, you've got the lighter blues mixed with the browns and yellows, and then he even transitioned that when you'll see around the top and front of my head, the oranges and the reds and all that. I love the big mix of colors and the light to dark in it, and yeah. I would say the easiest place to get tattooed on this whole thing was probably right on my temple, which I would have thought would have been a lot worse. But from my experience, I've got this rabbit's foot right there on the side of my head. That was pretty easy to do. I've got a little paw print right here. That one was pretty easy to get. And it's just about making sure that you're fed, you eat before you come in, you've had good sleep the night before, and you relax. He used a rotary on this whole tattoo, so it was much quieter than using a coil machine. But when you're getting tattooed on the side of your head, the noise of the machine doesn't matter quite as much, because you're going to hear the noise of the needle like hitting up against your skull. A lot of vibration. Originally, I wasn't really sure that I planned to go this big on it, but I love how it turned out. And I did want it to come out around my temple there a little bit and above my eye, but it's not so much that it's super distracting when I'm looking straight at you. But as soon as I turn, I mean, it's definitely there. It's definitely noticeable. Now he's starting to work in those reds and yellows and oranges. And this part went a lot quicker. The skin on the side of the head is a lot easier to tattoo because it's stretched pretty well. And when you get down to the neck, you do have to stretch the skin a lot more. So that took a bit longer, but this part of the video should go a bit faster now. My cat Albert is down here rubbing against the tripod. Finally, now I get to lay on my back, and that was probably the best part of this tattoo is when we got to a point where I could lie on my back and do it, because that right shoulder started to get sore pretty quick. I wore my Grumpy Cat space shirt. I figured it suited it for the occasion. I don't know if I'm going to do anything else with my head or my face, at least definitely not anytime soon, but I had a couple of people ask me what I was going to do on the back of my head now, since I've got a big space in between them. I don't know, I kind of like having the clean all the way back. Bringing in some more blues and purples and stuff to close up the front. Almost there. He had to shave my beard a little bit to get in there a little bit better. I would say I definitely would not recommend getting a tattoo like this unless you are very secure in your job, and they don't care. It's one of those things where, if a regular person, I say regular, I mean a non-tattoo artist person came into the shop and asked for something like this, unless they were heavily covered, it probably would not happen. Reason being is you never know what your situation is going to be like in the future. I'm pretty confident that I'm going to be a tattoo artist for the rest of my life. So, I mean, that's not a big issue. Tattoos are generally encouraged when you're a tattoo artist, but, I always go to this example when I tell people about like face tattoos or hands or neck or anything like that is, if it's a place that you can't cover easily, I wouldn't recommend it, just because you never know. You could have a job for 10 years that you think you're going to be working at the rest of your life, and they could downsize you. Something might happen in your life and you might move. And actually had this happen, taking my last break. He's going to start the white highlights and stuff now. Had this happen when I lived in Kentucky, where this girl, actually she was from Nashville and she was a bartender. And I think she was a bartender. Anyway, she was very heavily covered in tattoos, and she moved to Kentucky with her boyfriend or husband or something. I'm not sure why they moved there, but her tattoos were fully accepted. in Nashville. And then when she moved to Kentucky, in the small town that I lived in, it was very hard for her to find a job. And she asked if we were hiring managers or shop help or apprentices or anything like that. And we were a really small shop. We didn't really need anything other than the 2 people that we had. So, I mean, I had to basically just suggest factory work to her, or fast food, and she kind of laughed at me for that. And, I'm not sure why, because a job's a job in my eyes. You take what you can get until you can do better. But, honestly, it's just she set herself up for it when she got those tattoos. And a lot of people can say, well, that's discrimination and all that. But tattoos that you get, that's something you get by choice. That's something you do to yourself. So you have to be prepared to suffer the consequences of those actions. I can fully understand why a lot of businesses don't want heavily tattooed people, especially if you work face-to-face with a lot of people. If you're in sales or something like that, tattoos still have a stigma about them, and I get stared at, quite a bit, especially since I got this one. I've got stared at a lot more. As long as people don't come up and grab my head, I think I'll be okay. But, I don't fault some companies for not wanting to hire heavily tattooed people, because it does change their image as a company. And I can understand from a business aspect why that could hurt their business. Now, granted, there are a lot of jobs where I think it shouldn't really matter. But ultimately, that's not up to me to decide. That's up to whoever owns the business, decide how it affects them. So we're getting to the end of it now. He's finishing up the final highlights, and then we'll show the last view of it. And there you go. So that is right after it was done. Alright, and that wraps it up for today's time-lapse video of the tattoo I just got. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification icon if you want to get an alert every time I post a new video. Here recently, I've been posting videos a lot more randomly, but more frequently. So if you want to know when a new video is up, that will let you know. And again, as always, thank you for watching my videos. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.